Hello, this is Jim Ledoux from Vibrant Faith, and I have 6 suggestions for you when you're setting goals for your congregation. The first suggestion is simply to start now and to start small. Most churches, if they don't have a history of setting goals, begin by having pastors and program staff, and perhaps admin staff, set goals. And then as they set these goals, share them with one another and support each other. But start with your paid staff as the people that begin creating goals and regularly reviewing them. Then move on to helping elected leaders set specific goals or a few big rocks or an annual theme. Because really they're the ones that are steering and are stewards of the mission and vision of the congregation. Then move on to like your stewardship committee, your property committee, because they typically, with working with finances or building, those are concrete, tangible goals that they can set, and it's usually easier for those type of goals to be set. And lastly, then have your paid staff work with their assigned ministry teams and help the ministry team set goals at that point. But feel comfortable spending one quarter having staff set goals, the next quarter having council setting goals, another quarter having your property and facilities, and over the course of a year, you'll finally kind of have goals in place. Then make your goals SMART. They should be specific. What will be accomplished, by whom, and for whom? We make it clear that they're measurable. It might be how much, or what is the actual deliverable or the product or event that took place. Make it measurable. Also, make sure that the goals are aligned with the mission and vision of the church, and that there's an individual, not just a group, that's accountable for fulfilling it. Make sure that these goals are realistic, that they stretch individuals and teams, but not to the point of breaking. And finally, there's a specific time frame for when each one of the goals will be completed. That's absolutely critical. So that's suggestion number 2. Suggestion number 3, as long as you're setting the goals, you might as well then also take time to share them, to review them, to celebrate from them, learn from them. So, and I encourage you to share your goals on your website, in your meetings, at your annual meeting, with one another. Take time to review them at your leadership meetings, your quarterly check-ins, and other appropriate times throughout the year to take a look. Also make sure that you celebrate the progress you're making. That's one advantage of goals, and having the timelines. It gives you a chance to say, how can we celebrate this bright spot or this milestone in ministry? So then I want to encourage you also to be thinking about tip number 3, the anchoring the process of goal setting. Generally, this needs to be on your annual calendar for leaders. For most churches, they're setting and beginning to formalize them in October, November, a lot of times with staff reviews, things like that. What are your plans for next year? But make sure it shows up on your calendar if it's going to be a goal. Also make sure that it gets embedded in people's job descriptions. If this is important enough that they be intentional about ministry, whether they're a paid or a volunteer worker, how do we embed that in their job description? That's part of it, is to set goals that are aligned with the mission and vision of the church, and that we're going to pay attention to that, particularly if they're paid staff, that's part of the annual review process. And then I also want to encourage you, maybe as another tip, is simply to recognize that not all goals are equally important. So, because there will be, as you go throughout the year, some of the goals that you set may go by the wayside. You decided you don't have the capacity, or there's been another priority that you need to honor first. But always weigh, what are the rocks we want to make sure we don't drop, and which ones do we give ourselves permission to if 1 or 2 need to go by the wayside. But weight your goals. Number 5, this tip is related to giving permission to change the goals, to modify them a little bit. Again, view your set of goals as a working document that you're going to periodically update. And finally, the 6th suggestion is don't set goals if you're not going to take time to regularly review them at staff and leadership meetings. There's no sense in setting up all the energy to create goals and not to pay attention to fulfill them.